Hey guys, what's up? Hope your day is going well. Thanks for checking out BTC for Plebs, a channel that helps ordinary people learn about Bitcoin. Today, we are going to talk about Bitcoin wallets. Try to talk about them kind of on a holistic level, not any one specifically. And we're also going to talk about the concept of UTXOs and what that means. So let's jump right in. All right, so this idea of wallets is pretty common inside Bitcoin. It's what you are pretty familiar with if you've heard anything of that. Like maybe you've heard stories of like a wallet getting lost, or something like a story of someone's Bitcoin wallet being compromised. And so these kind of things are what I'd like to talk about, and it's really simple to break this concept down and to talk through the different kinds of wallets. And I hope this doesn't get too lengthy, but if it does, just bear with me. And I hope to really kind of summarize this, but give you a good picture of what exactly a wallet is. So to start out, a Bitcoin wallet, you would think that the wallet is traditionally like a old like billfold, that it would store Bitcoin within it. And something to remember here is that the Bitcoin network doesn't necessarily work that way. As much as it might appear that way, what actually happens is that a Bitcoin key controls the ability to move Bitcoin within a Bitcoin address. And in this case, a Bitcoin address and a Bitcoin wallet are kind of counterintuitive. Again, we'll dive into the deeper aspects of like a wallet, but the address is what you would use to send Bitcoin. So any of the apps that you can use to send or receive Bitcoin, if they have that function built into them, then you can very easily just click receive inside of that app, and it'll generate an address for you to send Bitcoin to. And so that address is searchable. It's searchable on the Bitcoin network, right? So all those addresses that you can send Bitcoin to, that you control, are searchable on the Bitcoin network, and all those addresses are controlled by your private key. So it might be a little confusing that you have one private key that controls multiple public addresses, but you would have that one private key, and it would control a number of public addresses. And the reason for that's just a little bit of security. Sending to the same address over and over as many times as you want, you can, but it does decrease security. So we're not going to dive too far into security today. That's a whole nother topic. But to keep talking through the idea of wallets, we have this idea of a transaction. And a transaction is something that obviously goes between two people. That's the entire idea of Bitcoin, is that it would be peer-to-peer. It's between two parties. If there's a third person in the way between getting there, that kind of defeats the purpose, and it's not really Bitcoin at that point. Bitcoin operates on its network on a protocol level, just with code between two people, right? So it's just code that two people agree on to use as a method of sending value. We could also say this for text messages. Maybe some people use iMessage and some people use SMS. The people who use iMessage, they get those features, they get that set, and then same with SMS. I'm not saying one's better than the other, okay? Not playing that debate. We talked through the elements of where the Bitcoin's stored, but I want to continue through that billfold aspect of how the Bitcoin is physically stored within the wallet, and this idea, these kind of new terms that we've come up with, which is wallet, transaction, and address. So let's kind of dive a little bit deeper and take a look at this website here. This is mempool.space, and this is a lot of data being shown to us, but we're going to break it down very simply here and just talk through again those three main elements of wallet, address, and transaction. So let's go ahead and just jump inside of the latest block here. So this is block number 834,695. We can see multiple transactions. Inside this block, there's 2,416 transactions. So we'll just click on this one and see kind of what's going on. All right, it looks like that this transaction had this timestamp, and it had this fee. And you can see that fee right down here. Yeah, so you can see that that fee is actually split. So you get a really good visual representation here. I would like to just very simply read through and talk through kind of what's going on with this transaction and how it would make sense for you in this scenario as well. So if you hold your own private keys inside of a wallet, right? And we're talking about this aspect kind of right now is holding your own private keys. That would be this input right here. So input one would be you making a transaction. And then once you create that transaction, there is a fee to do so and transact within the network. That fee gets sent to the miners. So right here, you can see that fee gets kind of split off right there. Beyond that, you can see this large amount, and that large amount goes back to the original wallet holder right here, right? So you can see they started out with this amount, it ended with this amount, and there is a small piece that gets split off and created a new UTXO or a new transaction out here on the other side. Okay, so this shows ultimately this idea of a bill inside of a wallet, okay? And we talked about it not being inside of a wallet, but think about it being a $5 bill nonetheless. And that we would be taking this $5 bill and sending it to the network. And the network says, okay, that is a true $5 bill. We can agree that that's 5. He has 5 inside of his private key. So, okay, we're going to spend this 5. But we need to make sure that 25 cents goes to the miners, okay? And then this 75 cents is going to get split off, and that's the actual payment to the person. So we're going to send 75 cents over, or whatever the amount, over to the person. Cool. So now we need to send $4 of this hypothetical 5 back to the original owner, and we need to do the rest with what it's given. And that's kind of what this looks like here if we break that down, okay? So imagine this being the original $5 bill. We're splitting that off into the 25-cent fee that goes to the miners, and then we receive the $4 back with the 75 cents that we have to spend going off to the payee or to who we owe. And so this is the general concept of what a UTXO does and how an unspent transaction output creates these outputs. There's an output that's back for you, which is your change, right? Or your Bitcoin that you can retain. And then there's your spend, which is how much you actually sent to the person, and then the fee associated with it for doing that. So I feel like I've repeated myself a ton. I'm sorry. It's important for you to remember how UTXOs work. So that way you can know how the network works entirely. For instance, you wouldn't want to send really small amounts of Bitcoin to yourself on the network over and over and over. That would congest the network, really. Okay, so it would make things harder to transact. Ultimately, what you want to do is consolidate, as many of these UTXOs as you can, so that way you just have larger and larger sums of Bitcoin inside of larger pools. And that's so that way they're easier to spend. You can split chunks off a little bit easier, like we showed here. It's much easier to do a big, large, transaction and break off a tiny amount than it is to take a bunch of tiny amounts and put them into one big transaction. Let's see if we can find one that's kind of like that right now, just so I can show you as example. We'll go back into this block. We'll scroll down here, and yeah, here's one that shows that it takes a bunch of tiny transactions and puts them up into one. And so this can become pretty expensive. You saw the fee on this one is pretty up there. So again, the best thing to do is organize, and remember that these wallets that you are owning, these wallets that you're sending Bitcoin to, ultimately, it's the UTXO that you're in charge of and that you're in charge of controlling with your private key. So it still doesn't explain what is a wallet. And so a wallet is very simply something that you can generate. You can do this for free. You can do this without asking anyone permission. You can do this without an app. You can do this on pen and paper. There's lots of great tutorials out there. I'll leave some linked below that are just amazing ways to learn about how to generate a wallet. But today, I would like to just simplify that a little bit and talk through it inside of a browser. Okay, so a Bitcoin wallet is something that you can either trust someone else to generate for you, or that you can generate for yourself. So we've talked about the previous method you can generate or the latter method that you can generate for yourself. This is the method that if you would like to, you can trust someone, like you can trust another company or you can trust an app to generate a Bitcoin wallet for you. In fact, even in the instance of hardware wallets, you have to trust someone else to generate the wallet for you. And so let's go ahead and just generate a wallet today, show you what it's like. So we'll say use in browser, and it loads setup, and we have a wallet. Literally that easy. Moving on to the settings here, we do get to talk about the security of this. I know I said it's that easy, but whenever we go to back this up, okay, these seed words are the most important thing that your Bitcoin wallet is. In fact, if you leak these seed words, if they get out to someone else, then you lose access to your Bitcoin. That is your Bitcoin password, if you want to call it that. It is the access you have to your private key. It is your private key. It is as secure as a savings bond. It's as secure as your car keys. It's as important as brushing your teeth every day. Okay. So do not, do not reveal your seed words to anyone. And in me saying that, here's my seed words. I'm just showing you as an example. This wallet, this mutinywallet.com, the way this app functions is that it will create a wallet on every browser instance. If I open the same website inside of Google Chrome, because this is completely browser-based and each browser has a different instance, when I tap to reveal seed words here, these are completely different words. It's a completely different wallet. And so, again, I know this kind of is getting a little bit deeper into the weeds here, but whenever you're trusting one of these applications to generate a wallet for you, number one, you're trusting them that they are generating a wallet that has good security and true entropy. You're trusting them that they're not keeping the seed words for themselves and that you're not just going to load this wallet up with Bitcoin and then just going to go snag it later. And then ultimately, you're trusting that you're going to be able to access it again. If I'm using Safari one day and I open Chrome the next, I'm going to freak out if I don't see my Bitcoin, if I've sent it to this wallet. So it's important to remember what it is that we're doing when we're doing it. Again, we can go into the weeds a little bit more on which wallets to use, but today is more of a general overview of what a specific wallet is. And this is the easiest way I've ever found to show someone, number one, how to generate a wallet, but then number two, how to see seed words and understand that not every single wallet or every single instance of a wallet is identical, and that it does require a little bit of due diligence here. That's something else to talk about here, is that everything that I've shown you so far, the wallet that we've looked at, has been an online wallet. And there are two different styles of wallets that I'd like to take a look at and talk through. Today, we looked at the hot wallet, which was mutiny.com. This is a pretty simple wallet. It's one that's easy to understand. It's software based and, it's digital. Obviously, it's going to be on a phone, on an app. And the other kind of wallets that you can obtain are what are called cold storage or cold wallets. And these ones are inherently offline. They are a little bit more difficult or harder to understand. They are a physical piece of hardware most of the time. They will either be technology based, or they'll be just a physical piece of hardware that store the 12 words. And they will be physical. So this is something that you can tangibly hold. And it's completely separate from a computer. So what I had drawn down here was that basically you would never want to, take your cold storage keys and import them to a device that's online. And then vice versa, you can't take like a digital phone or an app like this and then just pull those private keys offline. Once the private keys have been exposed to the internet, then you really have sacrificed the security of your private key, of your cold storage private key. Because, remember, whenever you are generating these private keys, you have to trust who's generating them. And if you're creating them yourself and then you're just storing those on an offline wallet, then they never have to touch the internet. You can create a Bitcoin wallet without ever using an app, an application, a website, anything technology based. You could generate a Bitcoin wallet just by using some dice. And this is a key part to remember when looking at this cold storage, is this offline element is important. It's where you really start to get a good picture for wallets that you can use in certain instances. For example, you wouldn't want to use a cold storage wallet to store, your funds that you need to pay your rent with. It's not a great example. Well, better example, you wouldn't want to store in hot storage your entire life savings. I mean, these are online wallets. These things not necessarily can be hacked, but have a greater point of entry. I mean, they're online. And so in different instances, you can think of maybe this hot wallet being like a checking account and the cold storage being more like a savings account. Now, to break down a little bit more of the hot wallets aspect, these can be broken down into a couple different areas. The exchange, you could consider it being a hot wallet. You have to access it via an online service. It is custodial, meaning that it is within their custody. They are custodying the Bitcoin for you, right? And that has its own risks. Some of you may remember, or you could very simply Google just the 3 letters FTX and learn all about how they lost their customers' funds. They actually didn't buy Bitcoin for their customers when their customers would ask them to. And so this custodial service, in a hot wallet scenario, you have to trust who that exchange or who that custodian is. On the node side of things, a node is, we've talked about that. It's a copy of the blockchain that you run yourself. And putting a wallet on there means that you can operate very quickly and very efficiently on the network. But and it is within your self-custody. It's not custodial like the exchange, but it does come with a learning curve and has a lot more technical requirements. And again, it's inherently online. Same with apps. They're always online. They're custodial or self. So these can kind of be vice versa. Showed you the option here with Mutiny, and Mutiny has the application service as well. So you can download their app and use that as a service, and self-custody your own Bitcoin because they give you your 12 words. There are other places out there or other apps out there that don't give you your 12 words whenever you use their service. You're specifically just using their custodial app, and kind of similar to an exchange. This is very similar. And lastly, here you have web, and you have web, and I just put that as custodial or self. Again, a lot of these web apps can be custodial, or they could be self-serviced. You could be owning the keys yourself. Now, whenever it comes to cold storage, that's considered what's called self-custody, right? You would be controlling the keys yourself, and ultimately you would be using a hardware device, whether that be a physical piece of metal that has your keys on it, or it would be a tangible signing device. There's lots of different solutions out there for self-custody for Bitcoin. And honestly, I'm not going to go through them here in this video, but it's whatever fits your need. It's whatever works best for your solution and what's easiest for your family. So I'm going to go through in this channel a lot more of those types of things and how each one of them interoperate. And because this is Bitcoin, everything interoperates with Bitcoin. It can interoperate with itself. And that goes into multi-sig. So rather than having a single signature key, something we'll get into later is having multiple keys that control the funds across wallets. So I hope that this kind of gives you a glimpse of not just what wallets to use, but like what wallets can do and what each one kind of serves a purpose on. And if you have any questions about anything I've discussed today or any of the stuff we've gone through, please be sure to leave a comment. I'm taking all the feedback I can right now. If you have a video idea, please shout out, let me know in the comments below. Give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.